So then, good evening, good evening, good evening. So, the first evening, we had the permission blessing of Vajrapani, who symbolizes the Buddha's power. And then last evening, then we had the transmission, the repetition transmission of Maitreya, who is the future Buddha, the fifth Buddha. And for today, we will then conclude with the oral transmission of Manjushri, Manju Gokha, Manju Gosha, who is the personification of the Buddha's wisdom, of the Buddha's view, right? So, yesterday, Maitreya, establishing the connection with Maitreya, then one should emphasize the practice of loving kindness, metta. This is very important. The cultivation of loving kindness is the foundation of the Dharma. This is the foundation of the Dharma. Nowadays, in the contemporary world, I think especially in the Western world, there is this phenomena which is mindfulness-based meditation. This is gaining popularity in the West. Of course, the mindfulness-based meditation has its roots in the Buddha's teachings, in the Buddhist scriptures, in the sutras, right? In the Satapatthana Sutra. This is the sutra, the discourse that the Buddha gave on how to cultivate mindfulness. And I came to know that the Buddha, this teaching, the cultivation of mindfulness-based meditation itself is practiced in the context of cultivating metta, cultivating loving kindness. So there's one sutra in the Pali tradition. In the Pali language, the sutra is called Kalama Sutta. Kalama Sutta. And this is it is very useful, the Kalama Sutta. It is very useful in the way how the Buddha teaches that one simply shouldn't accept the Buddha's scriptures based on the reasoning that this was taught by Buddha himself. One should not simply accept the Buddha's teachings because the Buddha said so, right? But rather, one should use reasoning and one has to analyze for oneself, by oneself. And if one can then develop a sense of conviction, if this practice helps in developing metta, then this is a good practice, right? So then the Buddha, for this reason, then I think the Kalama Sutra is very good. And also, so if we simply only think, if we simply approach mindfulness-based meditation and only take that out of context and then simply practice that, then yes, there will be some results, but one wouldn't be able to really taste the fruit of this meditation practice, right? So the cultivation of mindfulness is again based on the cultivation of generating loving kindness. And then, in order to develop metta, loving kindness, in the context of then attaining liberation, attaining freedom from mundane existence, cyclic existence, in order to use this practice and then in the context of realizing moksha, then it is imperative that one has to also generate the correct view, generate wisdom, pranja. So only by combining the loving kindness, the altruistic mind, together with the wisdom, would one then be able to free oneself from this cyclic existence. So, when we try to practice metta, if we are able to practice that together with wisdom, then it is more beneficial. If we can integrate wisdom in our practice of cultivating loving kindness, then this is very helpful. Wisdom can be used to enhance our compassion, our loving kindness. So then, what is wisdom? Right? So when we say wisdom, there is a wisdom in the context of realizing a conventional truth, and then wisdom in the context of realizing ultimate truth, right? So the first type of wisdom is wisdom in a conventional sense. So something like knowledge, something like that would be considered wisdom, but only conventionally, right? Only conventionally. And this is useful in many different situations, especially the types of situations that we discussed last evening. In trying situations, in difficult situations, in unpleasant situations, when we experience unpleasant emotions, unpleasant feelings, then we can bring the wisdom in relation to conventional existence we can bring that so that this can be used in not feeling overwhelmed by compassion, right? So in that sense, then wisdom, conventional wisdom, is very useful. And then ultimate wisdom, again, there's two types. One is of conceptual nature, and then the second is non-conceptual, right? So, ultimate wisdom here is helpful because through ultimate wisdom, then we can realize that it is possible that our wishes, that what we wish for, which is wishing for the well-being of others, and not simply experiencing momentary well-being, momentary happiness, but a happiness that will endure, an enduring well-being, right? So this happiness, this state of peace should be freed from the sources of suffering, from the three mental poisons, and specifically from avidya, ignorance, right? So by cultivating the conceptual ultimate wisdom, then one can be really sure that this wish can come true, that it is possible that one can truly be freed from the roots of suffering. So in that way, then this can really encourage, with the practice of cultivating loving kindness and compassion. Simply wishing for it will not bring conviction that it is very much possible to be free from the roots of suffering. And in order to gain that conviction, then at least realizing the ultimate nature, that is indispensable. Okay, so with the questions, there was one question I think that is related to the subject of wisdom. So the question is, what does it mean to contemplate on ultimate nature? It is quite abstract for one to visualize that. So how do we do, or what do we think of when contemplating on shunyata, on emptiness? So there is this one question. So first, emptiness. This emptiness, as it is mentioned, as the Buddha taught in the Heart Sutra, which many of you are already familiar with, then this is referring to emptiness refers to the negation, of an intrinsic existence, right? This is what emptiness means, that all phenomena are empty of an intrinsic nature. All phenomena are empty of existing from their own side. So emptiness refers to the emptiness, the negation of objective existence, self-existence. How is this relevant? How is emptiness relevant in the context of freeing ourselves from destructive emotions, from the three mental poisons? In order to overcome ignorance by that, ignorance refers to the conceptualization of this self-existence, right? This is the basis upon all other, this is the basis of all other destructive emotions like attachment and aversion. They are all based on this conceptualization of a self-existing object. So emptiness, to contemplate emptiness is to contemplate that no objects exist in this manner, right? And one way of perhaps breaking down emptiness is to think of pratitya samutpada, dependent arising. This is helpful. Interconnectedness between the object and the subject. If you think about that, then is there a such thing as objective existence, right? So I think if we think more about dependent arising, not just on a coarse level, in the context of a causation, this is more coarse dependent arising, but we have to go down more to the subtle dependent arising, which is the relationship between the object and the subject, right? So if we think like this, then somehow it becomes more clear, at least conceptually, at least the theory seems more plausible. So we have to first think like this. But before emptiness, if it seems a little abstract, then I think a good thing would be try to think about impermanence. I think that's a good entry. That's a good pathway to emptiness, right? So when we go shopping, when we are in the mall, if you look around, then we see there are many, and you can really see the human desire. You can really see attachment. And when we go shopping, then we also see that, right? We also feel that. Okay, so this is the situation. Now we can analyze this. In all that process, we are chasing after an object, right? We want to accomplish it. We want to gain that. We want to achieve that object, right? So for that, we have to do many things to get to that point. And then after making all that effort, finally, we get our object. We realize our objectives, right? And then what? What happens then? Initially, when you receive, when you get what you desire, there is this euphoric moment, right? You are elated, you are feeling so satisfied, right? But then, after a few minutes, after a few hours, then look at where your mind is. Just look at yourself, take some time and then try to reflect on how you feel now, right? So this is impermanence, right? This is impermanence. So our happiness is so momentary, it's so momentary. And once that feeling of happiness passes by, now we have the object that we have desired for so long. But are we happy then? No. We are back to feeling how we felt before achieving that objective. So if you think about it, if this is how we want to be happy, through material possessions like this, in this way, then is it sustainable? Is it a sustainable approach to feeling satisfaction? We have to ask, in all that process, were we searching, did we want to feel happy, or did we simply want to have the object, right? And if you say that we simply wanted the object, then what was the purpose of that? What was the purpose of having that object? Then it comes to, because I want to be happy, I want to be satisfied, right? So satisfaction is really the key word here. It's not the object, it is not the material object that can really cause us to be happy, that can really sustain happiness in our minds, right? It's not the object, but happiness is really a mental state. And if it is a mental state, then we can use our minds to be in that state. We can use our thoughts, we can use these techniques to stay in that state of satisfaction. So when you have some time, then you can try it like this and see if it works, right? So we have to try to bring impermanence and use this kind of skills, right? Techniques, methods, in order to come to the realization that material possession, material happiness is simply not the solution. It is not the solution to end all suffering. It is not the solution to end our sense of dissatisfaction. So like this. So then, therefore, the great teacher, the Buddha, then first gave teachings on impermanence, right? And then gradually on the state of suffering and so forth. So there is this sequence of how one turns to the Dharma. So if we really want to practice the Dharma, if we really want to follow the teachings of the great teacher, then we have to turn our mind, we have to direct our minds to impermanence, how we are always changing, So this is very important, yeah. And there was one question. So the question is, we should be truthful as we are taught not to lie, but there may be times when we tell the truth, it may hurt the other party. However, if we hide the truth or just reveal the partial truth, the other party may have the wrong perception and continue with the wrong act. But if we tell the truth, the other party may be hurt, so the other party may be hurt. So in such a situation, should we tell the truth or not? So this is the question. It is a question of ethical nature. So in this situation, then we have to think, if by telling the truth, if we end up with hurting the other party by telling the truth, then what should we do, right? So here we have to think, yes, we should share the truth, but then we have to be mindful about the timing, about the timing. This is important because sometimes we can tell the truth, but it wouldn't be beneficial, right? And if we find ourselves in such a situation, then I think it is better not to tell the truth if there is no benefit. But there could be a situation where we know that even if we share the truth, of course, the other person may not receive it happily, but we also know that by telling the unpleasant truth, if we know that throughout time, that this person will digest what you have said, and you know that this person will digest and will come to terms with the truth, and ultimately this person will be benefited. If this is the situation, then I think it is better to tell the truth, even though that might cause some discomfort, right? But in the case that you know that by telling the truth, that this person will in no way change his or her mind and continue with the harmful actions, then it is better not to tell the truth. So we have to again, think about the situation, and so I think we have to be very specific, right? We have to be very specific. But then saying something that's not truthful does not necessarily mean it is a lie, right? So we also have to think of that also. So for example, if a dangerous criminal is looking for one innocent person, and of course you have hidden this person, and when this dangerous person comes looking for the innocent person, you say the person is not here, that you haven't seen the person, and the killer goes away. In that situation, of course, what you are saying is not truthful, right? But then, did you just lie? Right? Does that constitute as a lie or not, right? Here, at least in the context of not telling lies, like in the 5 precepts, when we say, I pledge, I commit myself not to telling lies, to stop lying, right? When we take this vow, then this lie, then it is very much connected with the motivation, which is the motivation to deceive the other person. So this is very important, Since there was no deception there, since there was no motivation to deceive the person, but the motivation was really in order to save the innocent person. So, therefore, this is not a lie. Right? What I think some people, they call it something like a white lie, a white lie, they say like this, right? So this is not a lie. It's technically not a lie because the lack of the wish to deceive the other person, the wish to take advantage of the other person, right? Since that is absent, then this is not a lie, even though what one has said is not truthful. So we have to also think of that, in this context. So like this is just something on the side. So I think now we will start the transmission. So first, just a very, why are we doing this this transmission, the oral transmission? This is obviously, this is in order to establish a connection with Manjushri, and then what is the purpose of that? That is in order to cultivate wisdom. And then what is the purpose of that? Then it is we have to gain wisdom so that we can then not only free ourselves from the from the roots of suffering, but that we can then also help others, benefit others. So this is, how we have to set our motivations. Okay, so beginning with the yellow Manjushri, then please repeat.
所以呢，现在从黄文书心咒开始哈，然后请跟着上师念。
Om Arabata Nadi Om Arabata Nadi Om Arabata Nadi. So this is yellow Manjushri or Arabata, Manjushri Arabata. So this is I think yellow, or maybe more like we say more orangish, right? More orangish. Okay. And now, white Manjushri, then please repeat. Om Wage Dam Nama. Om Wage Dam Nama. Om Wage Dam Nama. Red Manjushri. Om Shriti Mamedeva Saraswati Manjushri Mum Shri Tanja Vardhani Shriti Soha. Om Shriti Mamedeva Saraswati Manjushri Mum Shri Tanja Vardhani Shriti Soha. Om Shriti Mamedeva Saraswati Manjushri Mum Shri Tanja Vardhani Shriti Soha. Now, Manjushri, Pranja Chakra. Om Benza Dikchana Di. Om Benza Dikchana Di. Om Benza Dikchana Di. And now, the black Manjushri. Om Taswe Chuswe Turdaswe Turmiswe Ningolache Kalaza Kamsham Tambe Bepe Soha. Om Taswe Chuswe Turdaswe Turmiswe Ning Golache Kalaza Kam Sham Tam Be Pe Soha. Om Taswe Chuswe Turdaswe Turmiswe Ning Golache Kalaza Kam Sham Tam Be Pe Soha. Okay, so this completes the oral transmission of 5 types of Manjushri. There are different fives here with different traditions in different iconographies. There are different types of Manjushris comprising of the 5 Manjushris. So this that I've compiled here, then the white Manjushri, this I've received from the late Kyabje Lati Rinpoche and also Thakpa Rinpoche. And then the yellow Manjushri, red Manjushri, and Pranja Chakra is from Thakpa Rinpoche. And then the black Manjushri, then from Tayo Janggon Rinpoche. So this is the lineage. Okay, and now, so this concludes the program, and now, of course, during the dedication, then let us all dedicate whatever seeds of virtue that we may have accumulated. Let us dedicate this towards the well-being of all Mother Sentient Beings. And then let us also dedicate to the Dharma, to the Dharma, so that we can then continue to receive and experience and realize the true Dharma. And for the Dharma to be propagated, then of course this is dependent on the teacher, on the spiritual guide. So then let us dedicate this to all teachers, spiritual guides who are propagating the Dharma in their respective something like universes, of all 10 directions. Then it is important that we dedicate towards them. And then specifically, I could say our common teacher, our common guru, then His Holiness. Let us dedicate this towards His Holiness's long life and good health, of course conventionally, that is, so that His Holiness can continue to inspire countless sentient beings. So please dedicate like this. And I know that many of you who have been coming here, from the early days, I'm sure you have wonderful memories of the late Kyabje Lati Rinpoche. And as you know, Rinpoche's reincarnation, the Yangtze, the present Lati Rinpoche was enthroned just last year at the monastery, at Gaden Shartse Monastery. So Rinpoche has returned, Rinpoche has returned, and it will not be long before that I think we will have that you will have the opportunity to meet the current Lati Rinpoche. So I think this would be really wonderful for so many of you. Yeah. So I just felt like sharing that. Yeah. So that is a dedication, and then something like a footnote. Of course, then here, I am very appreciative, very thankful to the Sangha here. They have really done so much over the past few weeks, and then particularly in the last 3 days, the Sangha have really given. I feel they gave so much of their time and have been so generous. So I just want to, I feel very thankful, of course. So I just wanted to share that. Please do not clap, and then just and then to continue. Then of course, I want to of course take this opportunity to of course, thank um, thank GSDPL for organizing this wonderful event. And in this event, of course, we, the Sangha, and our monastery, Gaden Shartse, we know that through these wonderful events, not only does it bring so much benefit to you, to the people conveyed here, but we know that it brings much benefit, financial benefit to the monastery, and this is how it is a way of, sustaining the Sangha, right? So for this, then I want to thank you all for your participation, for your involvement, and then particularly I just wanted to share my appreciation to our wonderful volunteers. So as you can see, you can tell by the orange shirt, it is becoming something like a trademark. So this is your work is so wonderful, and it's really, I think, beyond. I cannot express in words how much I appreciate all your good work here. So thank you all. Yeah.